Hi, it's Leslie Meredith with Breakbulk Events and Media. We've just finished up our Latin American Project Opportunity panel, and I have Spencer with me from Newmont Mining. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
It's good to have you here. So you are in Denver. So my first question is, what are you doing on a panel about Latin America?
Well, Newmont Gold Corp is extremely active in South America, and particularly with regard to capital development investments. So really wanted to just provide some input on capital project development for Newmont Gold Corp in South America, and more specifically, some of the unique challenges that we face in executing our projects in that region, and the overall outlook of what the market looks like for us in general. So it was a great panel, and I just felt like it was a very good session for us to be a part of. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. It was certainly crowded in there, so that was great. Yeah, absolutely. So, tell me, what are some of the big projects you're working on, and in what countries?
Sure. Yeah. So we were still heavily invested in the traditional mining countries like Peru and Chile. We've expanded operations now into Argentina and Suriname. We've got some minority interests in Colombia, and we're doing exploration in French Guiana as well. So really kind of a very diverse portfolio across the region. When we look at really large-scale investments and projects down the road in our pipeline, we're still looking at places like Peru and Chile.
Okay. Now, is it all gold? Is that the only metal that you're bringing up?
No, we still advertise as a gold company, but a lot of these larger deposits have gold, copper, and some other precious metal byproducts like silver. And so when we look at Peru is largely a gold operation, but with some copper production. Chile will be a more balanced mix of copper gold. Suriname is essentially exclusively gold, and so is Argentina. So we do sort of advertise and brand ourselves as the world's largest gold miner, but at the same time, we do produce other metals.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned that there are challenges working in some of these regions. Can you explain what those are, and more importantly, how you are dealing with them as a company?
Sure. Yeah, I think, first and foremost, our motto is safety first, right? And zero harm. And I think, we as a company do a pretty good job of protecting our people. But at the same time, we really are still on that journey to zero harm and zero fatalities. And so fatality risk management, and ensuring that all of our people go home to their families every day is paramount in all of our minds. The mining and metals industry in South America has had a very tough year this year. There's been, not with Newmont Gold Corp, but other mining and metal projects, 14 reported fatalities, largely related to the transportation of personnel to and from sites. And so, as we look to invest in future projects and potentially mobilizing large-scale workforces to and from the site, I mean, that's certainly a major risk factor for us. So we have some very, I think, progressive policies and programs to help manage fatality risk. We also face risks in the communities that we work in. And so we have to ensure that as we develop a project and mobilize into operations, that we are aligning expectations with the local communities, managing those expectations, and delivering on our commitments to the regions in which we operate. And South America is paramount to that.
And do you see differences between the countries where you're operating? Oftentimes, we think of South America as a homogeneous whole, right? But something tells me it probably isn't. So government environments different, or what kinds of things do you take into account?
Sure. There's nuances across the region. I think from a regulatory environment, uh, political environment, cultural environment. If you look at where we operate, for example, today we're in Chile, Peru, Colombia, Suriname, French Guiana. We've got French spoken language in French Guiana. You've got a Dutch-speaking culture in Suriname, and then you've got Spanish-speaking cultures in Chile and Peru, but two very different cultures between Chile and Peru, I think, as everybody knows. So it's a very, very diverse continent, and we have to approach each country uniquely in terms of how we align ourselves from the local communities to the culture to the governments.
And do you involve the communities as far as maybe employment opportunities, or at least sharing knowledge about what's going on, what your plans are? And do you find that helps mitigate any sort of friction that might arise?
Absolutely. It's all about that, what you just described. So we start very early on in our investment development process in aligning on things like local supplier content, local employment, ensuring that we're aligning with the community needs and requirements. We spend a lot of money on the front end setting up a new asset like a gold mine, sometimes multiple billions of dollars, but then we need to be operating in that community for sometimes 20, 30, 40 years. And so that's absolutely critical in terms of sustaining our long-term social license to operate in the region.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for giving us this comprehensive overview of mining in South America.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Appreciate it.
Thanks.